Good evening. My name is Beth Hutton, and I am a member of the Lake County League of Women Voters. I also brought two timers, my husband Bruce and Carol Pred. We are all very experienced in doing this. None of us live in Willowick, so we have no say in tonight's event. I mean, as far as who is going to be elected, it keeps it a little more neutral. So we were glad to be invited. We did send out some rules before the event that each candidate must represent him or herself, and so they are all here in person. They all arrived on time, so that's not an issue. They will have 3 minutes of speaking time, and we have just drawn cards to determine the order in which they will go. Our timers will signal them with a 30-second sign when they have 30 seconds left, and then they will signal them with a stop sign when their time is up. And we ask that you just finish your sentence or finish your thought, and then let the next speaker speak. Afterwards, I'm going to do what I forgot to do last night, and I apologize to last night's candidates. I see a few of them here. They were sent some questions in advance, and I will be asking those of each of the candidates in the same order of their draw. It's not something that we usually do, and so I just forgot, so I apologize. We also have note cards over here. And if you would like to ask a question, we're going to ask you to write it on a note card and put it in the box. I will be drawing the box and asking the questions. It goes a little faster that way and a little smoother than if we ask you to stand.
Be sure it's a question.
I'm sorry?
Be sure it's a question.
Yes, and please be sure it's a question, not a statement. I won't read your statements, okay? If the question is addressed to a specific candidate, that candidate will answer first, and then the other four. So as you see, there are 5 candidates up here tonight. They are all running for the same position, but you will elect 2. I've also been asked to remind you that we have 2 cameras going, and so please don't stand in front of the cameras. We're sorry that there aren't enough chairs for everyone. There's a big meeting next door as well, so we're kind of out of chairs. But you can stand along the walls or in the back, but not in front of the camera, please. And this will then be put onto the city's website once Mr. Wolfrich has a chance to arrange it. After we ask your questions at the very end, we're going to allow for each candidate to have kind of a 2-minute rebuttal. We want to end this part of the meeting at 8 o'clock and give you a chance to mingle and talk to the candidates one-on-one if you would like, and we need to have everybody out before the library closes at 9. So we're going to end this part at 8 o'clock. Okay? Are there any questions? Okay, then seeing none, we will proceed with Mr. Skamitz. I'm sorry.
Hello, and thank you all for coming tonight. My name's Tony Skamitz. It's one of those names when once you see it spelled out, it even makes it harder to pronounce. So I don't take any offense to anybody not saying my name right. Who am I? Born and raised here in Willowick. Grew up, went to St. Mary Magdalene School, Lake Catholic High School. Spent a year at Cleveland State, then down to Ohio State, and eventually got my accounting degree from University of Phoenix. We'll explain more of that as I go. I have a wife and a 4-year-old. They're not here tonight. I spared you that of having a 4-year-old run around because he'd probably be really loud and screaming. I think I'm uniquely qualified to join the council. My background, I've held positions with all different companies, as well as I once worked for the State Employment Relations Board, which is, if people know, that is the collective bargaining agreement grievance board. It works as a pseudo court, so we would deal with unions and public employees coming together as grievances and working through them. So I had 3 years of working for this board that works on these type of cases. I've also, what I was doing there started out as budget. So I worked on a state budget, got it passed through both the House and the Senate, pretty amazingly, and managing it. So working with public funds and how they work, also something I've done. Along the way, I left Willowick, obviously when I was down in Columbus for Ohio State, and stayed down there for a bit, then moved to New York City and worked for Calvin Klein, director of IT for them. Once again, it was having an accounting background and intelligence, and with IT, they kept on moving me up to director roles, working with staff and having staff members. Eventually, I came back to Ohio for family, moved back home. We won't talk about the 3 years I lived in Wickliffe. But when it came time to buy a house, bought it here, and I've been living in Willowick now for 17 years. When I came back, I worked in a few different roles and decided, 30 seconds already? Wow, talk fast. All right, so with that, worked at the Cleveland Clinic, and currently I'm a senior project manager for a company called Vocera, and handle multi-million-dollar budgets on projects, staff, and getting people and things done. All right, so thank you.
Our second speaker is Natalie Antosh.
Hello. I'd like to thank the League of Women's Voters for putting this on and helping us out. My name is Natalie Antosh. I am the youngest of 5 that were all born and raised in Willowick. My parents were Ray and Betty Chip Antosh. They moved to Willowick in 1954 and built the house that I actually own. I've been a resident of Willowick for 50 years, even though 5 of the years I lived outside of Willowick. I moved back, well, during those 5 years, 3 to 5 times a week, I'd be at my parents' house because they babysit my child. So I felt like I still belonged to Willowick. After my mother passed away, I bought my childhood house, and I've been there ever since. So I can say that I've been here for like 55 years. Willowick has been always very close and dear to my heart. From the time my parents built the house, my grandfather came from Pennsylvania. He helped build a lot of the houses in Willowick. He even put a sidewalk down the middle of my backyard because he didn't want his grandchildren learning to ride their bikes out on 305. He preferred the backyard. Willowick has, my parents were very involved in Willowick. They were part of the PTA, part of Willowick St. Mary Magdalene Church. They were part of the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. I was a Girl Scout for 18 years. I belonged to the Willowick swim team. My husband is John. We have 3 sons and a dog. I have 1 grandson. We have 1 grandson and 3 granddogs. My education, I went to Royalview, Willowick, Junior High, Eastlake, Willoughby Tech. Graduated from Lakeland with an associate's degree in management and then Ursuline College bachelor's degree. I'm currently a realtor for 15 years with Keller Williams, Greater Cleveland Northeast out of Mentor. My previous employment, I was executive director of an assisted living home with a large budget, property manager of Pine Ridge Apartments in Willoughby Hills, executive assistant at Picker International for 5 years, general manager of 2 hotels at the same time with $8 million budget that I had to maintain and keep every year. My involvement in the city of Willowick, I attend or have been attending the city council meetings for the last 3 years. I was on the charter review board, and then I'm on the planning review board as well. I also volunteer with the Willowick Hearts and Hammers program. So I have seen a lot of changes in the last 55 years with Willowick, and I look forward that in the future of Willowick that I can be a part of those changes. I ask that you vote for me, Natalie Antosh, to be your Ward 2 council person.
Our third speaker will be Teresa Bisbee.
You're good.
I'd like to thank the League of Women's Voters for moderating this evening. And I'd also like to thank everyone for coming out and listening to the 5 candidates. So for those who don't know me, I'm Teresa Bisbee. I'm currently involved in the community. I'm on the rec and the rec baseball and football boards. I hold the position of treasurer. Just really quick about that, in the last 3 years, baseball's been able to save adequate funds to redo the 3 fields at Mannery. Football is also looking to do similar items to the field up there as well. Not only am I on those 2 boards, but I'm also involved in my condo association. I've held the position of president and currently treasurer. I'm also on the rec board here, being liaison for baseball. Along with those various board positions that I've held, I also coach t-ball, I coach basketball, and I run the concessions for the leagues as well. A little bit about my background. I've lived in Willowick now for about 28 years, give or take, with my family. I have a technology background. I have an associate's degree in business management. I was in the Army Reserves. I'm currently working as a financial wellness coach, as well as I work part-time at Giant Eagle. You guys can stop by and say hi to me there. Some of my past employment, I worked 13 years in radio. I did their accounts payable, I did their technology, their computers and whatnot there. From there, I went to KeyBank and I worked there for 20 years. I did large projects, IT related, handling budgets, hiring, firing people, that whole kind of 9 yards. If you guys have any questions after this evening, I appreciate you guys coming out. Stop up at Mannery and see me. It's really my second home. I need to talk to Julie. I need to get my own room up there. So during basketball, baseball, and football, you'll find me up there on the fields or in concessions. I appreciate your time tonight, and I look forward to having your questions. Thank you.
Our fourth speaker is Kenneth Pintar.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's meeting. I just wanted to thank everyone in the League of Women's Voters for putting this on. I'm running for re-election. I was voted in the last election cycle. It was end of my first term in election. I've lived here in Willowick for 23 years with my wife and daughter. My daughter goes to NDCL. She's a senior. She'll be graduating off to college pretty soon. For that, as far as my career background, my career is in information technology. I was the Chief Information Officer for Lake County. So I'm used to working with various different departments, work with over 80 departments and agencies, including cities and townships. We did our IT work as well. So we're kind of like an IT consultant at the county. And right now, my position is pretty much, I'm not at there right now. I'm on a leave of absence. For a couple of years, I'm involved in a clinical study with the Cleveland Clinic for that. My involvement in the city is, like I said, is as a council. I have more county experience in my past. I worked there for 15 years. And I also did the Ohio Digital Summit. I was executive council on there, as well as the Ohio Counties and Cities Information Technology Association on there. And as far as city goes, I'm involved on the safety committee meeting. I do the safety committee and council, of course. Previously, we helped out with football as cheer. My wife did cheerleading, so I helped out with that years ago. My brother's actually in charge of the baseball league, runs that. So family, pretty much my whole family lives here except for my two brothers. One lives one street into Eastlake, and the other one lives in Avon. So we're all close, relatively here. I grew up in Willoughby Hills, so it's not too far. I've been a Lake County resident my whole life. I got.
Okay, thank you. Last but not least, we have Keith Beck.
Hello. Hello, my name is Keith Beck. I've lived in Willowick for 15 plus years. Been a small business owner for 27 plus years. My beautiful wife Nicole and I have 3 wonderful kids who are all students in the Willoughby East Lake system. We have put all of them into just about every sport in Willowick for the last 12 years. Sometimes they wanted it and sometimes they didn't. I'm an active member of the Willowick Zoning Board of Appeals. I served on the Willowick Charter Review Committee. I assisted in the replacement of the Welcome to Willowick sign that was taken out by a drunk driver. I started and organized the first annual Willowick citywide garage sale to help bring money not only into the businesses who sponsored the event, but also to the 140 homes who participated in this. It's fresh ideas like that that I believe I can bring to council if I could just have your vote on November 5th. There are a lot of things I'd like to do. There's a lot of things with the sewers, trying out new ideas, businesses. We've seen way too many of them leave. There's 27 storefronts empty right now, 20 of them on Lakeshore alone. We've lost a lot. Packetans. We've lost a lot. It's just, and we haven't been able to replace them. So it's things like that that we have to get back into the city, try new businesses that can sustain themselves. You know, not the ones that are going to be taken out by Amazon, places like that. So there's things I want to do with that. There's things I want to do with the sewers. We also have a rat problem. I'm not sure if everyone is aware of that, but it's growing, and we need to start getting a hold of that. So I have ideas for that also. But until I get your vote on November 5th, I cannot implement any of this. So hopefully I can have that. And thank you all for coming.
Before we move on, there are 2 seats over here if somebody would like to sit down. Okay. There are 3 seats over here. You'll be back. Okay. We're going to move into the questions that the candidates were given in advance. Last night, the candidates found it easier for the question and answer to stay at their seats. If you choose to come up to the podium, that is fine too. But I've been assured that you'll be on camera no matter where you are. So you'll be good. So we're going to go in the same order that we did originally. So we're going to begin with Tony Skamitz. Did I say it right this time? What do you see as the primary role of a council person?
I think the easy answer on that is to represent the people. But when you start thinking about what the role actually is, it's to get out there to listen what the people are saying, and also to communicate. I think one of the things when I've been out walking is I didn't know, I didn't hear. But what are those and how we get that out? The Willowick Courier does come out. I'm always amazed that here our council has a chance for free, to say whatever they want, and yet very few take a chance on it and say anything. So get those words out there. I know, Mayor, you put your article in every week, every month. Finding those ways to get the message out as well as to listen, I think are 2 of the most important things. And as part of council, it's also to be creative, find other ways, look to other communities, see what's out there, see what we can do.
Very good. Next is Natalie Antosh. Same question. Do you want to repeat it?
Yes.
Yes. What do you see as the primary role of a council person?
Thank you. There's four things. The primary role for a council is to balance the budget by April 1st. That's the main thing of a council person, is to balance the budget. The second thing is to make change and pass and enforce ordinances. The third thing is to chair a city committee. And then the fourth is to assist the residents with any issues, concerns, or questions that they have. That's it.
Very good. Okay, and Teresa Bisbee.
Sure, thanks. So what I think, makes a good council person or council at all is you need to have someone who listens respectfully, weighs the differing opinions. They need to have determination to look at what's best for the community. They need to have a willingness to devote a lot of time. They need to care about our community and what's happening around them. They need to look at the city's goals, right? The major projects, infrastructure improvements, finances, and strategic planning. Your council needs to maintain and not bash and slander other people publicly on social media. They need to be someone who invites feedback and different ideas. Because one person can't make a difference, but a full community can. Your council needs to prioritize and be able to build strong relationships. They need to be transparent, and they need to encourage people to make their views known and engage with council. One of the most important things I think is, what we're doing tonight, right? Communicating, listening to others, have an open mind. And I believe that I have these qualities, so I respectfully represent, respectfully represent you in Ward 2. So thank you for listening.
Very good. Kenneth Pinto.
The role of council is, like most people said, representing the residents and the constituents that we have in the city and their wishes on how the city should be run. The other is the council is the legislative body where they pass laws to run the city effectively, along with passing the budget. We have to pass the budget, making sure the taxpayer, which is your money and our money, everybody's money, is spent wisely and correctly to run the city in the best way it can. It has to be passed, like Aunt Natalie said, by April 1st. So.
Very good. And Keith Beck.
I think it's not only to be the voice of the people, but also be the ears of the people. Just listening to their thoughts, their suggestions, ideas. They have great ideas. They have great suggestions most of the time. And just trying to, see what you can do for them, help them when there are issues. I've had, as I was walking around asking people, to take my sign or sign for, to petition to be a council person, I would also ask, is there anything that you see that you need done? And I had a lot of feedback, like different things from signs, that it says no parking, and then it should be, why is there no parking there, or why isn't there a no parking sign when we're close to 305? Just different things like that. Also to improve the city in every possible way, from streets and sewers to, like I said earlier, filling the business voids, and then creating ways for all the citizens to come together through more citywide events. Like if we could bring back the rib burn-off, that was really gaining momentum. It was a nice thing to have. The movies, that's it.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the second question, and I think I'm going to just make it a little easier on the first person, and I will go to the third person, go 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. How's that? So the second question is, what is your vision for the future of Willowick? So Teresa, you would be first.
Sure, thank you. So, I want to keep and help keep Willowick to be a great and strong community. I want to ensure that our rec programs continue to grow for our kids. I want to ensure that our seniors also have programs that help to keep them active. I want to ensure that we keep our fire and police departments up to date with new technologies, and make sure that we remember the ones that we've lost and not burden their families. I want to have an open and honest discussion regarding different challenges within our community. And I want to make sure that our council is transparent with our residents so that everyone knows where our tax dollars, where our money is going, and what it's being used for. So again, thank you for listening.
Okay, and we will go to Kenneth Pintar. Again, the question, what is your vision for the future of Willowick?
All right, my vision, I guess, would be we have to at least maintain what we have, first and foremost, whether it's police, fire, recreation service. Everyone's accustomed to a certain level of services that we have. And unfortunately, costs increase, but, the money coming into the city is not increasing. So we need to think of ways to increase that funding coming in. And one would hopefully be the income tax levy that's on the ballot in November. That would be one of the good ones. The other was to increase or help maintain our fire department. As far as staffing wise, we're short-staffed a lot of times, and we need to actually work on getting them, to work all the time and staff our fire department efficiently and effectively. And that we're in competition since we're a part-time only fire department that most of them want to go work someplace else. So, if it's $1 more an hour or whatever, we need to find ways of attracting them to stay here. And typically that's money, which, the city's lacking in, unfortunately. The other thing would be hopefully lakefront development. We're looking at some lakefront development ideas now, the mayor is. So I support those developments as far as developing the lakefront and, bringing businesses in to hopefully bring up the tax base.
Thank you. Keith?
My vision for the future, having the shopping centers and commercial storefronts filled as close as possible. Continue having happy residents is a big thing. I dealt with a lot of people in the city through my business, and you learn there's multi-generational families. The grandchildren have a house, the grandparents have a house. Everybody lives in Willowick. I want the same thing. I want my children to think I can come back to Willowick. I want to raise a family here. Those are the two things that I thought for the future of Willowick.
Very good. Tony?
Going off of what Keith said, I think our families all came here, mine, bought the house, and this was their final home. I want families to come here and say, this is the house I want to be in. So I want to see people to be able to invest in their homes, make them better, make the place that they want to live in, make it the community that, we do have the sports, and not be the community that, is on the downside. I mean, the one thing we have here in Willowick is we're landlocked. We're not going to see, even if we fill all the business windows, it's not going to make us it'll make us a better community, but it's not going to relieve us of any tax burden of keeping this community going. And I think so in the future, it's the families coming and wanting to stay here and building a real strong community amongst us. I was surprised when I announced that I was running for council. I really didn't even leave my street to get any signatures. One person heard about it and so on. When I put my sign up in my yard, my neighbors came to me and asked for signs. I live on a dead-end street, Deborah Drive. So I was like, okay, if I just put one sign there, I'm good. You know what? One neighbor got mad because I didn't put a sign in his yard. This is the community I live in. And when we talk about, our neighbors, nobody wants to leave. They're all glad to be here. And that's what I want for this community. Thanks.
Thank you. Natalie?
Willowick residents deserve to see the city continue to move forward and to be financially secure. That's the key thing, is being financially secure. If the city's secure financial and budget-wise, they can do many things. We need to maintain our city services. That's anything from the rec center to the service department to the building department, fire, police. We also need to maintain our homes, the senior center, also the parks that people want to move into Willowick and stay. I also would like to see same thing as the mayor, is at the development of the lakefront. That's the only thing Willowick has going for it, is that we are one of the few cities that has the lake. And to be able to develop the lakefront, to be able to bring people in here, wanting to stay, and to bring more money in.
Thank you. I'm going to pass this box around for questions, so you can go ahead and put in any questions you've written. So our third question, which the candidates were provided, is what do you see as the biggest challenge that the city has now? So let's start with number 5 and go backwards. So that would be Pete.
Yeah, biggest challenges are right now are going to be, if the levy doesn't pass, is just cutting where, figuring out what you're gonna do with the little bit of money and the more money going out that we have right now. There's 3 main issues. Flooding basements, obviously, everybody knows about them and are very tired of it. All we can do right now is continue to work with Ohio Public Works and Lake County Storm Water Management, but also try to find other grants and funding. I was even thinking of maybe a separate sewer levy, just a sewer levy only. If it costs you residents, $25, $30 a month or whatever it would be to have just a sewer levy, that would be one way of getting the sewers fixed faster. Right now, there's 42 miles of sewers and streets in Willowick, and they're doing it at a rate, all the money they have, they're doing it at a rate of 1 mile a year. So this is just taking forever. You can't get to everything. By the time you do get to everything, you're going to be back at the First Street. We need to somehow cut it in half if we can through different funding and grants. Also, work the rat situation. Davine is over at the Lake County Health District. She's just one person, and I was thinking, maybe just trying to start a committee of Willowick homeowners to try to help out and remedy that, do whatever we can to start helping out. I didn't have time for my last one, so.
Okay, you'll have 3 minutes at the end. Okay. Our next speaker is Kenneth Pintar.
All right, as far as my thoughts for, ways to improve or what the city needs, is do we need to maintain our services? Like I said before, with the rising cost of everything, everybody's, even at home, everyone's cost of living increases. So does the city. The city's cost of living increases as well. And unfortunately, we rely on taxes. Taxes, we're a home-based or bedroom community, so we don't have big businesses like Lubrizol and like Willoughby has a whole bunch of businesses and stuff like that. So we rely on the community for the property taxes and income taxes for our income, per se, since the state cut a lot of funding out in years past. The other thing is the fire department, like I said before, is staffing the fire department. We need to get the fire department staffed all up to staffing levels that we need, and unfortunately it's going to cost money to do that. We're looking at potentially like $1 million a year just to add that to adequately staff our fire department. I'm good.
Very good, thanks.
I'm good.
Okay, and that would be Teresa.
So, in my walking around and talking to various people, some of the things that have come up is, we've had a rash of some car break-ins around the area and reported out there. I think we could look at doing, getting our community more involved in actually doing a block watch from that perspective. I've also talked to the folks that live over by Mannery, and not only from a parking perspective, but from the folks that their backyards butt up there, they've asked for the fences to be raised because of our kids that are back there. But some of the big things that are there, sewers, absolutely. We've got some of the older sewers that are out there, and we need to push for renovation. In the last sewer meeting, I was talking to Mike Vanny as well as Tim, who's the group that are doing the sewers. They continue to look at the studies that they've put in place, regarding the city. But we need to continue to push our current council to look at the areas that are really getting hit hard with the flooding. And I know Ward 2 is one of those areas that's really getting hit hard by that. So we need to look at how we can kind of, as Keith was saying, advance some of that. So we're not just doing 1 mile a year and that 42 miles, we're gonna be here forever with that. Another thing is, looking at that general fund and look where our tax dollars are going and being used and how that general fund is gonna be utilized. And the last thing is really communication. We need to update our communication to our residents. We need to be able, a lot of people that are out there today are using social media. So we need to push and get the word out to everybody, so it's not just a few. And all the people here are representative of that communication. So again, thank you very much for listening.
Very good. And Natalie?
Hey, the biggest challenge is keeping a balanced budget. I know I keep talking about the budget, but that's the biggest thing. Without a balanced budget, you can't do anything else. It's just like your home. You have a home budget. If you can't afford to do something, there's one of two things. You cut something, or you end up figuring out getting another job for more revenue to be able to do what you want to do. We don't have the luxury like other cities that have the large businesses. So the city budget's tight, and the current city council and department heads and Cheryl have done an excellent job in controlling our costs. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of it, but 19 out of the 20 times the state of Ohio audited us, we did 100%. So that tells you right there that it's a tough job keeping that balanced budget. The other part to the question was, how would you propose to fix, well, the only way to fix that is to get more income, more revenue in. And what I would like to do is talk to other cities. I know there's a few cities out there that have already have ways of bringing in extra income. For one, they charge residents and landlords a fee for repeat calls. So if the police department come to your house other than emergencies, let's just say your neighbor, you have a rental property next door, and the police have been there several times for loud music or disturbances or something, I propose that the city turns around and charges that landlord or the owner. And that's other ways of income that can be going to the police department to help the police department in the city.
Very good. And Tony?
These guys have really covered all of it. I thought it was horrible going first. I think it's worse going last. So I think, and I don't want to repeat a lot of the same issues. Obviously, we know the sewers and that we're landlocked and nobody wants to pay more in taxes, but yes, we have to keep the community going and we have to have the balanced budget. Those are the issues. I think if we turn back the clock and went back, 30, 40 years, it would be the same thing we were hearing then, of what Willowick needs. I think it's always going to be the running theme. Monies are always going to be tight. If we get more money into the general fund, the police and fire, as Ken said, we need more money there. So I think it's always just going to be an issue, and I don't think there is an easy fix for it.
Okay, very good. Let me grab some questions here. Not too horrible. Okay, to make it a little easier, I think we'll start with Teresa and work our way this way. So why now in your life have you decided to run for council?
Good question. So, as my family will tell you, I've got all this extra time. No. Because I think it's the right time, right? We need a fresh look. We need another set of eyes out there. We need, people talking and communicating with our residents. So I think, the time now, it was right for me in my life, in my career path where I am today, that this was meant for me to be here, right? To talk to the people. I love to talk to people. I love to, try to help people. I'm for those that know me, I, love to help people, love to work with kids, love to work with seniors. I'm fastly approaching being a senior myself. So it was just the right time in my life to get involved more with the city from that aspect. I'm involved in the city in other aspects from a, coaching and team's perspective. So it was just the right time in my life. Thank you.
And yes, Natalie?
For me, I've been asked to be on council several times throughout my lifetime, and with my job in the hotel, I was on call 24/7. Assisted living, again, 24/7. Right now, my kids are all grown, they're out of the house, they're out in different states, and I have the time now. And Willowick, like I said before when I introduced myself, I love Willowick. It's very dear to my heart, and seeing what has been going on in the city, I want to continue with its future and have the kids that are growing up now, even their children, have the same experience that I had growing up in Willowick. Willowick's a great place, and I have the time, just like Teresa's saying, I have the time now. This is between my real estate and this. That's it.
Okay, Tony?
Having a 4-year-old, I have no time. But I looked and I said if I was going to run for council, this would be the time to do it for me. The reason being is I had a couple of jobs recently where I just traveled all the time and I wasn't home. So I took a position with the company Vocera I'm with where I work from home. So I am here in the community 90% of my time. Occasionally I have to go out of town, but most of the time I'm here. So with a flexible work schedule, I know I can get out there and be there for the people, versus before I would have never been around to do it. And chasing a 4-year-old, although that does take time, he'll understand occasionally. So I think for me, if I was ever going to run for council, I think now is the time, and I wanted to make a difference.
Okay, good. Ken?
Being I'm running for re-election, my term started back in 2015 or 16, somewhere 4 years ago. Back then, I decided it was a good time for me to do it. My daughter was approaching high school, so I wouldn't have to be running around a lot of times, except for Friday night football. But we didn't have to, travel a lot to different events, with my daughter, so it freed up, was freeing up time. And I thought I could do, a little bit of good, helping out, since I did have the government experience in the past.
Very
I
good.
enjoy Will.
Sorry,
Nope,
didn't mean to cut you
you're
off.
good.
Okay. And Keith?
Willowick's done so much for my family and myself. I've always looked to give back somehow. Tried the PTA, PTO. I didn't really fit in, do much. It was more my wife doing most of the things, but I volunteered where I could. And then once I realized I was always looking around for ways to improve the city or finding different things. That's when I decided, all these ideas are in my head. Maybe try to help out this way through that, which is so I started with the joining the Charter Review Committee and then the zoning board. Just getting in where I can get in, and now I'm trying to become council.
Very good. This may be a one-person question. I'm going to start with Ken, and then if the rest of you would like to join in, you may. Can you tell us who the Willowick Acquisition Partners LLC are, and if they influence decisions made by council regarding real estate development, including lakefront development and retail development?
Can you read that again?
Sure. It's a long one. Okay, first part is, can you tell us who the Willowick Acquisition Partners LLC are? And if they influence decisions made by council regarding the real estate development, including on the lakefront and retail development?
They wouldn't have any influence on council, I don't, as far as I'm concerned. We don't, a lot of times we don't deal directly with them. The mayor usually handles a lot of that.
Okay.
Or the different departments handle that.
Very good. And do you know who they are?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
Yeah, me neither.
All right, can anybody add to that? Okay. You can talk to the mayor later.
I know who you are.
Tomorrow
Okay.
night. Tomorrow.
Okay, why haven't any candidates come door to door on Oakdale Road other than Tony? It's a great street for signs. So Tony, you can say why you've been there and then we'll move down and come to this side.
Why was I there? Well, obviously it's in the ward, and I'm trying to make sure I knock on every door, or I shouldn't say knock. I'm out there on Saturdays, so I try to at least put my information in everyone's door. That is anybody who's voted in the last general election. So that's why I was out there.
Okay, is there a reason that you have not been there?
There are a lot of streets to cover in Ward 2. That's the
The bottom line.
bottom line, there are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of streets, right? So, and to be honest, I just got my pamphlets done, and so you will be seeing my face and knocking on your doors and dropping those off. So
There's a month to go, right?
there's a month to go.
I'm here.
Keith.
October is Oakdale month. So I'm spending most of my time there. Just the same thing, I just got brand new flyers and wanted to wait till I got them printed out before really pursuing the streets, so.
Okay. And Ken?
I haven't done a whole lot of canvassing. I have walking issues, so walking door to door is a little bit hard for me to do. But I try and get out and like do small sections at a time and meet people. So, but I have not been to Oakdale yet. The street away, but not Oakdale.
Okay. The next question, I think that we will begin with Keith and work our way this way. Do you support retail business directly on the lakefront?
Yeah, if it's done the right way. I've also talked with a lot of people who do not want to lose the lakefront, so it's very important how it's done. You want to still be able to go and visit without having to spend $5 on a cup of coffee. So it has to be done right, but yes, whatever we can do to bring retail into the city.
Okay, Ken?
I would support retail on the lakefront. I believe one of the goals is to keep the lakefront city-owned, so people still have access to the lakefront and keep the retail off, the real lake. So the public can still go down to the lake, I believe. So, at least that would be my goal.
Okay, Tony?
Actually, I'm not for any retail on the lakefront. I think it's, as been stated, it's the one thing we've got going for Willowick, and I think keeping it open to the public is what we should do.
I like to see restaurants on the lakefront. Still have the backside by the lake available for the public, but closer to the lake shore is have the restaurants. And then they have the open end part, like a patio facing the lake with the restaurants, and then possibly on the second floor above it, having either retail or rentals, housing. Sort of like downtown Willoughby, but imagine that on the lake.
Okay, and Teresa?
I guess it's twofold, right? I would want to see what would want to be out on the lakefront. I don't want to lose what we have. So, like Tony has said, I would not want to see retail on our lakefront. I think that is one of our biggest perks that we have with the ability to go down there. So it would really depend on what was gonna be put there. But I would also want to see there's currently a study out there to look at that area. So no, I would not support that today.
Okay. And I think we'll start with you, Teresa, this time and work this way. Currently, there is little to no information available online about committee meetings that I know of. No agendas or minutes. How can the residents know what's going on in these meetings?
Thank you. So I would agree with that question. As I said before, communication is key to keeping all the residents informed on those committee meetings, getting all the other minutes out there. So that is something that, you know, if I was on council, that I would try to work with all the heads of the committee to make sure that we have that information out there, that residents know when there are meetings, what the meetings are for, what those agendas are, and what those minutes, you know, have come out of those meetings. So that, I see that as a pretty big problem within our city of communications, so I totally agree with that. And that is something that should be looked at and should be resolved, and can be resolved pretty quickly.
Natalie?
I believe everything being available online, but also too, as of right now, you go to the website, the committees are listed on the website. If you are interested, you are more than welcome. All of those committees are public, open to the public. You can attend them. You can also call the city and get the minutes sent to you in the meantime, but they should be on the website.
Tony?
So I immediately put on my project manager hat, and there's a problem, and how do you resolve it? And I think the first thing is find out who's responsible for those things, make sure that they're held accountable for getting them out there if they're not. And if they're not getting them out there, what's the reasoning for it?
Okay. And Kevin?
Yeah, I don't see, right now, I know the committee meetings aren't posted online. Why that is, I don't really know. They probably could be, there's no secrets or anything like that. It's probably just an oversight. I know it's been brought up at recent council meetings as well. If we're gonna check, I think the mayor was gonna check into that.
How many bucks can we pass his way tonight?
As many as we can. Well, the person that speaks up and says, well, I'll look into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's probably no reason. Sometimes agendas are short-lived, or not short-lived. They're brought up and then, you know, on the fly as far as the agendas go. Sometimes there's only one thing that they need to call a meeting for, and then 5 things get added, you know, right at the meeting or as they come up during, you know. So sometimes agendas aren't always, you know, a viable solution to get out public. And as far as public notice, I think it's done by the law. As far as public notices, it's in the paper, they're put on the website and stuff to notify the public. And, you know, how many people actually read the paper these days? Not many people. So, and some people, you know, they don't even look at the city website. They go on Facebook instead to try and get all their information. You know, and sometimes that's misinformation as well. So.
Right. Okay, and Keith?
I think it's just an easy upgrade of the website, maybe start a new website. There's no doubt in my mind that they would have all the information on there and have it easy to find if the website was easy. I think that's probably the main thing that they could do, and this way anybody can go on and look at it and find it, anything they want to find.
Okay. At this point, I have one more question, so if somebody is holding their questions, please get them over to the table or up to me somehow. And I'm going to begin with Tony this time. Where do we have lakefront other than at the city police department to develop?
That's owned by the city?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know of any.
Okay. Natalie?
The house to the left of City Hall itself, and the Metro Park building that they rent, that's all owned by the city. We purchased that house a couple years ago to the left of City Hall. I'm not sure if people are aware of that.
Okay. And Teresa?
Yeah, I would agree. That's just the only area that's owned by the city today in the lakefront area. Is that house over to
The left.
yeah.
Okay, and Keith?
What was the question again?
The question is, where do we have lakefront available other than at the city police department
They're owned by the city.
that are owned by the city?
That
Right.
are owned by, the property to the left. I believe the city still owns they just leased the Metro Parks to the building and things, so they have that area as well. But those were the only 2 that I know of.
You agree?
It's the City Hall complex with the police and fire, that area. The property next door, the Lakefront Lodge, that is owned by the city and leased to the Metro Parks. And they did purchase a couple of years ago the house to the left of it, or to the west of City Hall complex. So just that whole area right there.
Excellent. Okay. You can take a breath for a minute, Wally. Thank you. Okay. All right. Okay, let's begin with Ken. How do you plan to engage the community more if elected? What methods of communication would you use?
Right now, the forms of communication that we have current is our phone numbers are out there, our email addresses are out there. Those are, I like, personally, I like to keep it formal, keep city business away from personal business and stuff. So there's got to be a formal audit trail for me, for audits and ethics and stuff like that. So if it's on Facebook and it can get deleted or whatnot, other people, so.
Very good. Keith?
What was the question again?
How do you plan to engage the community more if elected? What methods of communication would you use?
Against what Ken just said, I think that Facebook is a growing medium. Everybody's on there. It doesn't have to be Facebook, it could be anything's websites. To reach more people, you have to go to the computers anymore. Not everybody reads the newspaper. Phone numbers are fine, but if they can contact you with almost like a text, if you're on a website and to get back to you, I think that's a better way for the future.
Very good. And Tony?
So, one, I would take advantage of the Willow Courier as much as I could. Also, being out in the community, there's events that are going on all the time. As Teresa said with the rec area, being out there, being seen, possibly even going to the senior center, just showing up when they're there, seniors are there, and talking to them. Being available, I think, is one of the things, and knowing where people can see you.
Very good. Yeah.
Was that question? Well,
Yes.
repeat the question.
Sure. How do you plan to engage the community more if you're elected? What methods of communication would you use?
Okay, well, that can go either way. Does that mean like what is going on in the city as far as the information going out there and about meetings, or is it making myself more available? So
I think you're right. It could go
Yeah,
either
either
way.
way.
Yes.
So as far as letting the public know what's going on, I'm a firm believer in using all the cross. I know the newspaper, there's still people that get newspaper, the Willowick Courier. A lot of people, the residents that I've talked to, a lot of them are not on Facebook. As much as people think that they are, a lot, and it's not just, it's all ranges that people are not on Facebook. Still, you can use it as a medium. I think the website, the city website, is the best way, because everybody does have access to it if you have the computer. And also, I said the Willowick Courier covers just about everything. You have to, especially in like my job, I have to touch base with everybody in all different realms. So whether it's print, social, the marquee at the city hall. I like to see an electronic marquee down by 305. Don't know how that would happen, but they have the manual one, which I feel sorry for the service guys having to sit there and change all the lettering and maybe electric man. That's probably the only answer, is just some way to get all the information covering everybody's bases. I'm gonna say ditto.
Oh, I agree. Everyone's got great ideas, but I think, you reach different people in different areas of their life, right? So not everyone has a computer and is on one, but that's one way, right? Whether it be the website, social media, what have you. I think, getting out into the community and actually talking to people. Like I said, I'm up at Mannery, 70% of my time is up there. I've talked to many people up there. I like to do face-to-face, but there's that. There's news with the Courier. There's meetings. There's, all forms of communication. And I think that's all open to all of us. So whether it be email, phone, text, that kind of thing. So absolutely.
All right. Seeing no other questions coming my way, I'm going to move on to the point where you can each come up and say anything. If any of your opponents have said something that you find objectionable, this is your time to say, no, that's not what I agree with. If you just have something that you didn't get to say earlier because you got off, this is your time to say it. You will each have 3 minutes, and we'll go in the same order of draw. And again, you can stay at your seat, or you can come to the podium wherever you're more comfortable. So we'll begin with Tony.
Thank you, first of all, once again, all of you for coming. I sit here, and I look, and I'm proud of the community. I mean, look at all the people that came out tonight for this event to hear the candidates. You have 5 people running for 2 positions. That's great. I know, hopefully tonight, I've been able to show you that, who I am, what I'm about, what I'm thinking, where I think the community will be going if I was elected. And I would hope you would elect me. If not, I see 4 other candidates up here who would do an amazing job just as much as I would. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
As I said before when I introduced myself, I love Willowick and what it has to offer. From the pools to the rec center, to the sports, the walking path, the senior center, City of Willowick having sidewalks, and believe it or not, people do buy houses in cities and they're looking for sidewalks. So that's a huge plus to be able to walk our city. And then of course the lake. Willowick residents have a huge heart. Not many cities have 3 memorials in their city. We have residents that started and maintained the Butterfly Memorial, the Canine Memorial, our veterans sign that was at the beginning of 305 there, and now the fire department is creating a memorial. That in itself just shows people how caring Willowick residents are. Also too, there was a group of residents that started the Willowick Hearts and Hammers about 15 years ago. That is strictly, that group of people that started that group to help seniors and disabled residents. I'm on the board. I'm a treasurer there, and I'm also a volunteer. My husband's a volunteer. Keith has volunteered also with the Hearts and Hammers. What that organization is that if there's a senior or a disabled resident, they need a safety, a way to keep them safe in their home, a handrail, or all basic repairs. We help them out. We help shovel their front steps. We rake their leaves. That's a huge help for our residents. No other city has that. We've had cities calling us on how to start that in their city. To me, that is just another form of showing how residents take care of our own people. I have seen the changes in the past 55 years. I look forward again to seeing more changes in the future of Willowick. And again, keeping it the way I was raised and my memories. I'd like to see your children, your grandchildren have those same memories, and all the sports that are involved, and the functions for the senior center, staying that alive. I ask that you vote for me, Natalie Antosh, for your Ward 2 councilperson. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you. And Teresa.
Sure. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming out. I think we had some great interaction. We had some great questions. I think there was a lot of information that was given to everyone tonight to help you make your decision for November 5th. Again, I think I have the qualities that would, be good for the council, that would help us keep moving forward in the city that we have been. I think we're very lucky, right? We have a great rec program. We have 2 great parks with pools for our families. We have the lakefront. We have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of moving parts but we need to continue moving forward. We need to continue with the projects that are on slated now and look to the future. We need to just, work together. We need to get that communication out. So I appreciate everyone's time tonight. I appreciate your monitoring this for us. And again, I ask for your vote, but mainly I ask everyone just to get out and vote. Whether it's for myself or for whoever, but it's our right. Make sure that you're using that right. So thank you very much for your time tonight.
And Ken.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and monitoring and running the show here. I'd also like to thank Ann Turk, who's in the audience, for her years of service here as council and decided not to run again. There's plenty of people up here, capable of filling that spot, I think. And I hope to continue, if reelected, supporting the community and getting Willowick, keeping where it's going. So, thank you.
And Keith.
Yeah, Willowick's a great city. We have the rec department is awesome. The senior center, I think, is one of the largest in Lake County and the strongest in Lake County. There's lots of programs that they have. Both those things need to keep going. There's also the things that needed to be fixed. And there's different ways to look at it, different ways to try to fix these things. But unless I have the vote, I cannot help implement any of these things. But yes, every single person up here seems very qualified, very good people. But I think I'm better.
Okay, I would like to, well, first of all, I didn't point out earlier, if you need an absentee ballot, there are absentee ballot requests over there. You can also print them off offline, going on the website for the Board of Elections. You have passed the point of having to be registered, so hopefully everyone is registered already. I would like to say that I have been very impressed last night and tonight with the people of Willowick who have come out in force. You have filled the room both nights. I think that's very impressive. And I'm glad I don't have to choose two of these fine candidates, because I think you have 5 people who are really committed to the city. And I wish you all luck. Thank you to the mayor and Sue for arranging this and inviting us. And thank you to my timers, and thank you to the library, and all of you drive safely on your way home. Thank you.